We've had a lot of response to the NBC News archival footage that we played this week, showing just how much hasn't changed in the past 30 years of oil drilling disasters. You may recall that we played news coverage this week of the 1979 Ixtoc oil well blowout in the Gulf of Mexico. And that footage made clear that from failed blowout preventers to junk shots to top kills to booms to dispersants to undersea plumes of oil disasters and oil disaster response looks the same now as it did 30 years ago. The only real technological progress the oil industry has made in the past 30 years is figuring out how to drill in ever deeper water. It was unsafe in 200 feet of water 30 years ago. Now the progress is that today it's unsafe in 5,000 feet of water. The delegate from the U.S. Virgin Islands in Congress is Donna Christensen. And Donna Christensen used our reporting yesterday to confront the head of the American Petroleum Institute at a congressional hearing on the BP oil disaster. She got a remarkable response. Check this out.
I happened to be watching Rachel Maddow last night, and she was flashing back over 20 years to another oil spill and the response. And it didn't seem, now I'm sure that this was edited for effect, but there didn't seem to be much difference in the response now to the response 20 or more years ago. So could you give us a sense, I mean, the technology of the drilling, the depth of the drilling, all of that has really changed dramatically over that time. Could you give us a sense of what National Ocean Industries Association and API have been doing in that period of time to improve the response and the cleanup and the safety?
Absolutely. Thank you for the question. Secretary Salazar said something yesterday that wasn't expanded on, but I think it goes to this point, Congresswoman. It's a very important one. He commented, without the preparations or the things the industry has been doing over the past 20 years, we wouldn't have the unprecedented response that we have today. When the Oil Pollution Act was passed in the early 1990s, it established recovery organizations. And today there are around the country over 140 oil spill recovery organizations. These are funded by the private sector, and they have developed equipment, they have a response capability, they train with the Coast Guard. When you put it all together, the industry has spent in the last 14, 15 years just through this process about $1.6 billion. To be prepared for oil spill incidents like this. And that doesn't count the individual companies and their research and development, their other investments to be ready to go.
You believe that? Confronted with evidence that what they were throwing at undersea oil rig blowouts 30 years ago is the exact same ineffective technology they're throwing at undersea oil blowouts today, the American Petroleum Institute assures Congress that what we're doing in the Gulf right now is an unprecedented response. Except for it being precedented. And they say they've spent decades and a ton of money upgrading their 30-year-old safety technology so that now it's exactly the same ineffective wing and a prayer nonsense as it was 30 years ago. Incredible. If we hadn't spent so much, Congresswoman, we wouldn't be having this amazing response that we're having now in the Gulf. Wow. No one in the oil industry wants to say it. And no one in America wants to believe that it is true, and I include myself in this. But honestly, we have no idea how to drill safely offshore. We know how to drill offshore, but we do not know how to drill safely offshore, because the oil companies have never been made to care too much about that before. If this disaster is handled correctly, you will know that, because the oil companies will finally have been forced to care about something they've never been forced to care about before. I would understand it if you're not holding your breath.